Everyone feels lonely sometimes. If we have no one to sit next to for lunch, when we move to a new city, or when no one has time for us on the weekend. But in recent decades, this occasional feeling has become chronic for millions of people. In the UK, 60% of 18 to 34-year-olds say they often feel lonely. In the United States, 46% of the entire population feels lonely on a regular basis. We live in the most connected time in human history, yet an unprecedented number of us feel isolated. Being alone are not the same thing. They can be filled with happiness and hate every second around friends. Loneliness is a purely subjective and individual experience. When you feel alone, you are alone. A common stereotype is that loneliness only happens to people who can't talk to people, or how to behave towards others, but population-based studies have shown that social skills make the difference. Virtually no difference for adults with respect to social ties. Loneliness can affect anyone. Money, fame, beauty, power, social skills, a great personality. Nothing can protect you from loneliness, because it's part of your biology. Loneliness is a bodily function, like hunger. Hunger forces you to provide for your physical needs. Loneliness makes you pay attention to your social needs. Your body takes care of your social needs. Why millions of years ago, it was a good indicator of how likely you were to survive. Natural selection rewarded our ancestors for cooperation, and to form links between them. Our brains have grown and become more sophisticated, recognize what others thought and felt, and form and maintain social bonds. Being social has become part of our biology. You were born in groups of 50 to 150 people, which you usually stayed with for the rest of your life. Get enough calories, stay safe and warm, or caring for offspring was practically impossible alone. To be together meant to survive, to be alone meant to die. So getting along with others was key. For your ancestors, the most dangerous threat to your survival was not eaten by a lion. But don't get the social vibe of your group and be left out. To avoid this, your body invented social pain and quat. This type of pain is an evolutionary adaptation to rejection, a kind of early warning system to make sure you stop doing behaviors that would isolate you. Your ancestors who experienced rejection as more painful were more likely to change their behavior when rejected, and so they remained in the tribe, while those who did not were expelled. And most likely he is dead. That's why waste is bad. And even more, because loneliness is so painful. These mechanisms to keep us connected, it worked great for most of our history, until people started building a new world for themselves. The loneliness epidemic we see today actually started in the late Renaissance. Western culture began to focus on the individual. Intellectuals have moved away from the collectivism of the Middle Ages, while early Protestant theology emphasized individual responsibility. This trend accelerated during the Industrial Revolution. People left villages and fields to enter factories. Communities that had existed for hundreds of years began to crumble. As the cities grew, as our world rapidly became modern, this trend has accelerated more and more. Today we travel great distances for new jobs, love and education, and leave our social network behind us. We meet fewer people in person, and we encounter them less frequently than in the past. In the United States, the average number of close friends has fallen, 3 in 1985 to 2 in 2011. Most people fall into chronic loneliness by accident. They reach adulthood and engage in work, university, romance, children, and Netflix. There just isn't enough time. The most convenient and easy to sacrifice is time with friends. Until one day you wake up and realize you feel isolated. What do you want? Close relationships. But it is difficult to find close relationships as adults, and so loneliness can become chronic. Even if people feel quite well with things like iPhone and spaceships, our bodies and spirits are basically the same as 50,000 years ago. We are still biologically refined to be together. Large-scale studies have shown that the stress that comes from chronic solitude, it is one of the most unhealthy things we can experience. Like people, makes you parental, makes cancer more fatal, Alzheimer's advance is faster, your weakest immune system. Loneliness is twice mortal of obesity, and fatal. How to smoke a pack of cigarettes per day. The most dangerous thing is once, chronically, it can remain. Physical and social pain. Common mechanisms in your brain both feel a threat, and so social pain immediately brings, and defensive behavior, if you are inflicted on you. When loneliness becomes chronic, your brain enters in car mode, begins to see danger and hostility everywhere. But that is not all. Some studies have shown that if you are alone, your brain is much more recordable and attentive to social signals, while it worsens at the same time. They worsen when they interpret them correctly. Pay more attention to others, but you understand them less. The part of your brain that recognizes the faces, don't get out of the melody and gets more. Probably neutral faces are classified as hostile. What is suspicious of others? Loneliness ensures you to take the worst of the intentions of others towards you. Due to this observed hostile world, you can become more sectorate to protect you, which makes you look colder and more hostile, socially embarrassing how really you are. If loneliness has become a strong presence in your life, the first thing you can do is try to recognize vicious circle in which you could be blocked. Usually something like that. A first feeling of isolation leads to feelings of tension and pain, as a result of which you selectively focus your attention on negative interactions with others. This makes your thoughts on yourself and the others more negative. What change your behavior? You start preventing social interaction, which leads to multiple feelings of isolation. This cycle is becoming more serious. It is more difficult to escape every time. Loneliness assures you that you are far from the others in the classroom. Don't answer the phone as friends. Refuse the invitations until the invitations stop. Each of us has a story about ourselves, and if your story will be, people exclude you, that others collect it, and so the outside world can be as you think about it. This is often a process that strips slowly, that takes years, and can end up in depression, and a mental state that can prevent connections, even if you wish. The first thing you can do to escape is to accept that solitude is a completely normal feeling, and nothing to be ashamed of. Literally everyone feels in them at some point. Life is a universal human experience. You cannot delete or ignore a feeling, disappear magical, but you can accept it. You feel it and reject the cause. You can investigate what you focus on, and check if you are concentrating selectively. Negative. This interaction with a colleague was rarely negative, or it was really mutual or even positive. What was the true content of an interaction? What did the other one say? They said something bad, or you added something, added meaning to their words. Maybe another person reacted not exactly negatively but only a short time. Then there are your thoughts about the world. Assume the worst of other people's intentions. You walk into a social situation and you did it. Already decided how will it go? Do you think others don't want you around? Try to avoid getting hurt and don't risk opening up. And if so, you can try to give to others. You can only get the benefit of the doubt that I'm not against you. Can you risk being open and vulnerable again? And finally, your behavior. Avoid your chances of being with others. You are looking for opportunities to decline invitations, or preemptively reject others to protect yourself. Pretend to be under attack. Are you really looking for new connections, or you have become complacent with your situation? Obviously every person in every situation is unique, and otherwise and only in introspection alone, maybe not enough. Legal disclaimer. If you feel that you cannot resolve your situation on your own, please try to get in touch and seek professional help. It is not a sign of weakness but of courage. However, we consider loneliness to be purely individual problem to solve to create it. Happiness or as a public health crisis. This is something that deserves more attention. Humans have created a world that is nothing short of amazing, and yet none of the brilliant things we've done is capable of it. Satisfy or replace our basic, biological need for connection. Most animals get what they need from their physical environment. We get what we need from each other, and we have to build our artificial human world based on, let's try something together. Let's reach someone today. No matter if you feel a little lonely, or want to make someone else's day better. Maybe you're texting a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Call a family member who has separated. Invite a coworker over for coffee, or just go to something you're usually too scared of, or too lazy to go to a DMD event, or a sports club. Everyone is different, so you know what's good for you. Maybe nothing will come of it, and that's okay. Don't do this with expectations. The goal is just to open up a bit, to train your connecting muscles so they get stronger over time, or to help others practice them.